Hello, awesome people. I am Srijata Bhatnagar, the host of Setback Leadership podcast and talk show, Breaking Glass Ceilings. In this episode, I am way too excited. Guess why? This is the first time we are having a man talking about breaking glass ceilings and making an impact in the woman's leadership scene. How cool is that? We spoke about big impact. We spoke about conscious capitalism. We also spoke about impact economy. What are all of these? We will find out in the conversation. So, our today's guest, Mr. Mark A. Grainger, is the co-founder of BigImactHQ, an organization that helps women create bigger impact and influence through their speaking. Their Speak Your Path to Success system has helped many women out there to create an impact that is unthinkable. They have generated 51 million in revenue through their clients, as well as shared stages with the biggest of the biggest people on the planet, like Tony Robbins in Good Morning America, TEDx Talks, and The View. So let's hear from Mark Grainger today in the Setback Leadership podcast, Breaking Glass Ceiling. Shall we? Let's get inside. So Mark, welcome to the show and thank you for accepting our offer graciously to come and join us in the show.
Well, thank you so much, Srijata. I'm so glad to be here.
My pleasure, totally. So, Mark, we will straight get into the subject quickly, and I would like to ask you, what does breaking glass ceiling mean to you as a man?
Nice. You know, it's interesting. I was just talking to my wife this morning. We're big proponents of the work of Alison Armstrong, and she talked all about the biology of the man and the woman, the masculine and the feminine. And when it comes to the glass ceiling, when you look at what has traditionally been a command and control masculine model of leadership, business, government, it's beginning to move into more a feminine model of inclusivity and inclusion. And so breaking the glass ceiling right now for women is for them to be able to, one, heal from the years of trauma, from the oppression of the masculine. And then from that healing, also a recognition and a rewriting of the story that the world now is already starting to be handed over to the feminine. And as women embrace leadership roles and a new way of doing it their way, women like to share the process. The feminine likes to share the process. It's not about let me be the self-made man that goes out there and makes it happen and claim accolades for accomplishing this. It's let's do this together. And I think you really see this in the Women's March on Washington. This is here in the United States. It became global, and this all was in reaction to the oppression of Donald Trump and the way that he spoke about women when he first got elected. And so the march on Washington wasn't just women. They included all different types of populations that had been marginalized, LGBTQ, Black Lives Matter. So it was all of these populations and cultures that throughout the years have been oppressed, and they're all ready to break the glass ceiling in human consciousness. So when women can take on a leadership role and bring that kind of energy into society, it's going to change the world. And that's what we really believe we're here to help usher in.
Wow, that's like amazing, and I truly agree with you on that. You know, it's all about the years of conditioning, years of trauma, years of a lot of lessons that were taught to them, which probably doesn't serve them. In India, we have this thought: a certain section of leadership or certain section of society thinks there is no glass ceiling. There is no stereotype. This is all bullshit. This is all about the imagination of women's mind. They have never been treated unequally, right? What is your thoughts on that? What would you say to that kind of a thought process?
Well, I think it's true. I mean, what I see is happening right now is there is a rising of consciousness, and that's being driven by the feminine energy in all of us. And so, with that, it really is about understanding and reframing what has been placed on us as limitations and what has been placed on women. So, as women start to come together and they start to imagine a new way of living, new way of leading, new way of governing, I mean, how different would the world be if every nation that is currently ran by a man was instantly swapped out and ran by a woman? The freedom of choice to do whatever they wanted to do would suddenly be in the hands of a completely different energy and a completely different consciousness. And I think the world would heal. There would be less children that are harmed, less sex trafficking, more equality, more peace, and a better way of life.
Wow, what a life that would be. What a world that would be. In fact, one of my goal is to see a better balanced world out there. So I'm totally on that. I mean to that we will be able to see hopefully that kind of a world in our lifetime, so that's my one of the goals in my life. So I'm going to take you to your early life. I know there has been something that happened in your early life which has made you to choose the kind of impactful work that you do. And I want you to share that with our listeners, with our viewers, that what was that experience that you went through that made you the person that you are today and the kind of work that you do today, Mark?
Oh, very good question. So, on one hand, I had as a mother what I would call as an alpha woman. And I had a father who would be what I would call a beta man. So my mom was very, I would say she was security driven and very fear based. My father was very spiritually driven and very, what's the word I'm looking for? Freedom based. And so the two of them came together, and what I saw was this amazing man who was evolved emotionally and really able to connect with people. And I saw in my mom a brilliant, powerful woman that did not know how to use her power. I mean, as a child, that was very painful to me. Seeing a brilliant woman who was not able to assert herself in a way to where she was congruent. And so a lot of her decisions were driven out of a need for security and a need for, and that made her make decisions that gave away her power. And then this continued with romantic relationships with women that I just started relating to in my life. And so when I went to college, I started gravitating to psychology, women's studies. And when I looked back on my life and really started seeing all the things that had shaped me, I started being called to really work with powerful women that are having a hard time putting their brilliance into the world because they have a need for control. And so what that did is that allowed me to attract my wife, my amazing wife, Shannon, and she's brilliant and powerful. And the two of us have come together to really serve women in a powerful way. And this is the most important thing, Srijata, is that the most influential force in the world today is a financially empowered woman who knows how to sophisticatedly speak her message and to stand for something powerfully. This means she needs to have a command of words, a command of language, and that's been the study my whole entire life since I was a young kid. I've loved the power of words and how words create worlds.
Awesome. That's a brilliant take on that. I think a lot of us get I would say shaped based on the kind of upbringing that we have had, based on the type of values and belief system that we were brought out with. And I think thank God that you had that kind of a upbringing and that kind of early life that set you apart from every other men in this world. Thank you for doing the kind of work that you do. And I want our listeners to know more about your work.
If I could respond to that, one of the things I think is really important for everyone to know is that it's been challenging for me personally to get to the point to take that stand. It's like, who are you as a white man 50 plus to be an advocate for women. In a lot of ways, it's kind of the in thing, because but it's what I've been here to do. It's really, truly authentically my purpose. And so I've had to do a lot of work to give myself permission to step fully into that. And that's also what we do, is really help women elevate their message and their ability to own their purpose and to not apologize for it.
Wow, amazing. I think having that clear purpose is a definite, a booster here, because that's where it really helps you to be consciously being aware and bring that kind of impact that you bring out from Big Impact HQ. I know about your work, and I really truly admire the work that you do. So here is a question just to nudge you and poke you a little bit. Why should women listen to you as a man talking about their growth, their success, and their impact and their influence? How can a man help them? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Very good. So I think it's really important that women have women mentors. We all need more than one mentor. We really do. We should have a mentor and a guru around our relationships. We should have a mentor and a guru around our health and fitness, the areas of our life where we need support in becoming who we're called to be. And I just know that I just have this knowing that when it comes to finding your message, that $1 million message, and being able to articulate it powerfully, being able to know it certainly, that I am a man who understands women. I'm a man that has been shaped by women in my life. And I've been a man who's been shaped by an evolved masculine. So I see the world more through the lens of the feminine, and have allowed myself to also see it from the lens of the masculine. So the reason a woman should really listen to me is, one, I'm in partnership. So it's not like I'm doing this all by myself. I'm in partnership with a woman who owns her power. And that takes a special kind of man. And it takes a special kind of man that can understand how women feel, how they're organized, how they think. And I'm more in tune with that than a lot of women are in tune with their own sense of self, because I've done the work. I've been a 25-year student of Course in Miracles. I've been working on myself for over 30 years in a field that now is really popular, personal growth and development. It's who I was at 20 years of age. So it's when it comes to really developing that millionaire message, that $1 million message, stepping into your purpose, becoming a thought leader, I don't believe there's someone who can pull that out of a woman more effectively than me.
Wow, amazing. That's so cool about it. So as I would guess that you work with a lot of exceptional women. So tell me something about them. Tell me something about some of your clients. Have they ever faced stereotypes, or have they ever faced glass ceilings? And if that's so, would you like to share any of the particular incidents with our listeners?
Yeah, I think the big one is women. A lot of women have a story. To everyone has a story to tell. Some of those stories are tragedy to triumph. And some of those stories are just, my whole life has been a series of me overcoming small challenges and becoming my best self. And in either case, what I have seen over and over again, and this is an epiphany for me, is that when it comes to really telling your story in a potent and powerful way, is it's scary. And ultimately, you are choosing to be seen. And a lot of what is perceived as stage fright, or maybe having a hard time getting on camera or getting on stage, is really giving yourself the courage to be seen in your brilliance, and in your pain, and in your wounds, and in your trauma. And I'm thinking of one particular person, Jennifer Jones. She came to us, very successful financial planner, and she goes, I have a story to tell, and I don't know how to tell it in a way that allows me to connect with my core audience. And as a financial planner, we had to spend some time with her. Who is your core audience? Well, it's women. And so at 29 years old, she had two beautiful children, 4 and 6. Her and her husband had separated. And she literally went through 11 hours where he took her children hostage. There were all these police cars, hostage negotiator, everything. And he eventually He eventually took a gun, shot the 2 children, and then turned it on himself and killed himself. So at 29 years old, she lost everything in her life, her family, her beautiful children, her husband. And she's like, how do you tell that story in a way that allows me to connect with my core audience and attract them into my world? And for her to be able to take the stage and tell that story it's powerful. And that's what I see that brilliant women have, is they have a message and they don't know how to get that message out and give it words. They think they might be onto the knack of that. They're finding something, but there comes a point in time when they're like, now is my time. Now is my time to get my message out there. Now is my time to face those fears and allow myself to be seen in my pain. Because when other women see you in your pain, they see your courage. And when they see your courage, that gives them courage. And this is what we call the ripple effect. So that is the biggest thing that I see with powerful women, is that they have a message inside of them waiting to be pulled out, and you cannot pull it out on your own. You need someone to help pull it out of you and to help you give language around it, thought leadership around it, and then marketing chops around it so that that message resonates and people give you money. It's one thing to go up and give a stage and get people to feel, and they come up to you and they're like, that was great. But we want people to want to invest in you and invest in your expertise and invest in your thought leadership.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think I would resonate with that, with the feeling that how do you really tell that story? You have been told since childhood that you shouldn't be seen, you shouldn't be visible, you shouldn't be too loud, you shouldn't be, sitting openly, you shouldn't be talking aloud, you should just hide your body, your mind, your opinions and everything around you, and just shrink. And that kind of a upbringing, when you have to open it up and when you have to share it with the whole world, saying that, hey, this is what it is, me, with all your vulnerabilities or all the gory details, all the setbacks, all the challenges that you have, that makes you, that makes the leader, the woman leader themselves, that is the unique potential of that person. I think it is definitely scary. I mean, I have myself been there and done that. And now I can openly, without shrugging a shoulder, talk about all the challenges, all the setbacks, on all the gory details, all the failures that I've had in my life. But there was a time I was scared to death to talk about it. I was ashamed of myself. How can I go ahead and talk about my failures? That was a big question that was there in my mind. I think you're absolutely right in there, that holds them back. That fear holds them back. But I think the moment you open your wings, the moment you share those stories, the moment you're ready to talk about it, is when the magic happens. Wouldn't you think, say so?
I agree completely. And I think it's important to understand that very successful, powerful women and brilliant women, I do believe the other thing that I've seen in common is that they need to think bigger. So if a woman has done the work like you're talking about doing, they've overcome the fears, they're able to start to talk about the things that have shaped them, and they no longer are stuck or locked up in their fear. Then they need to start looking at, if I'm not generating close to $1 million a year in my business and have a vision of how I can reach $3 to $5 million, then she's not thinking big enough. She needs to start saying, because part of what the world is doing now, if you think about it, the coaching industry started in the 70s and 80s with Tony Robbins and a lot of the self-help gurus as they were coming up. As technology started to explode at the millennium, everyone now is a guru. Everyone is a coach. Everyone has something that they want to say. And so the marketplace is completely overwhelmed by amateur messengers. And there comes a point in time where an amateur messenger can generate $200,000 to $300,000 a year. But there's this calling to become an exquisite messenger in these women. And it doesn't even dawn on them that there's a whole other level of healing and expansion that can take their business to where they are truly a household name, and they have the ability to impact millions of other people in their life with their message. And that's That's really what we're called to do. I used to think that it was going to be my message that changed the world. And what I saw is it's the messages of the women that we work with that will change the world.
Yeah, truly, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. Think bigger is the message here to the listeners. I think all the women have to think bigger and as big as they can, or rather, 100 times more than their own thinking power. If they think something, I would say just multiply it by 100 times, and that's your goal, that's your message, that's your potential. Because we have, as women, we have this imposter syndrome all the time, telling us, are we good enough? Can I do this? Can I really take this forward? I think that's where the message is. So, Mark, I want to move on right now and talk about that. I know there are challenges with women leadership models that have been taken into the world right now. So, what are those biggest challenges with the emerging leadership models for women?
Right. Well, I think the biggest one is that there isn't any. So the only thing that it's really challenging because we basically take our past and how we've been shaped and then we place it into the future. And that becomes the mold, the container that we see ourselves in. And we need to blast that container open and go, what is that container now that allows women to thrive? And I think the best model for that is the conscious capitalism model that's really been brought to the world by Whole Foods CEO John Mackey. Because conscious capitalism, it's all about inclusivity. The first piece is there was an article written by Milton Frederickson in 1970. He was a journalist. And in that, he wrote that the purpose of a business is to generate profit for its shareholders. And what's fascinating about that is the whole entire world bought into that in that moment. That the purpose of a business is to make its investors wealthy. And in doing that, what began to happen now is CEOs got hired and would get bonuses based on their ability to get shareholders' profit. So they would then build the business and shape the business and then fire half the workforce and all the people that built the business to be able to reach those numbers. And so what that does, that's a very masculine model that basically says that the ends justifies the means. Okay, so what conscious capitalism does is first with step one, a higher purpose, something larger than just what does our business stand for than profit. Falls right in line with a woman's heart, a woman's soul. How can I use my business to touch the lives of children, of women, of the oppressed, the starving? And then number two is stakeholder orientation. So instead of being shareholder oriented, how do we make that everybody that touches our business, from the janitorial staff that empties our trash and cleans our office space in the evening, to the vendors that come in and provide our supply chain, to everybody that is involved in the business, how can we have a conversation where everybody gets elevated and everybody has an opinion about the decisions that we're going to be making as a business to reach this higher purpose? And that is an exquisite model for women to operate in because they're so good at relationships. They're so good at emotional intelligence, of feeling and experiencing emotions in a way men can't. And so when you put a woman in a position to where she can generate these kind of relationships, things win. They just win. And then from there, you move into a conscious leadership where you're elevating the development of everyone in your culture, your clients, your employees, your stakeholders. And then ultimately you come into a conscious culture and you're building a culture that reinforces those values. And I think that's the biggest model that I've seen that allows women to thrive, because it's a big enough container to be different than what we've had before, but still has enough of a resonance of leadership that allows women to really play big and use their innate gifts as women to really change the world.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I mean, that's a new thing, I think, for even the leadership in India, conscious capitalism. I think that's the word that you should look for, the listeners and the people who are watching this. What is conscious capitalism and how? How do you think it can help women grow themselves, succeed themselves, and break their taboos, break their glass ceilings, break their stereotypes?
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people look at the word capitalism and they have a bad feeling because for 50 years, the whole concept of capitalism has let's make shareholders wealthy at the expense of employees and even clients. And so when women can see that there's a place for them to excel and to prosper and to financially change, I mean, like completely alter their life and the life of their family and the people that they love through the joy of inclusion and building something amazing, that's where the joy comes in. Because when you can bring in men and women who have this consciousness understanding and you start to ideate and come up with ideas of what can our business do other than just make money, how can it impact the oceans, how can it impact the air, the drinking water, the children on this planet, and really have a vision for that and then start to build that, it changes everything in the paradigm of what your life stands for and the work that you do in the world.
Right, right. So, yeah, we were talking about impact, and I know you also work on something called impact economy. Tell us, what is impact economy? I am curious to know more about this. What do you mean by impact
That's a
economy?
fantastic question. I'm so glad you asked that. Most of the time, people are in order. We are a world of entertainment now. All right, through video, through movies, through television, we need to be stimulated. And so, in order for that to happen, you've got to be able to impact lives. I was born and raised in Alaska. And I remember it was an August 13th day that I went fishing with my father. We went halibut fishing, and it was a beautiful morning. The water was like glass. There were mountains all around us, and we're sitting there fishing for halibut with our friend Wayne. And about 200 yards out, a whale started circling the boat. Pretty common occurrence in Alaska. So we were just watching the whale. And after probably about 5 minutes, it turned its trajectory towards the boat. And I'm watching it and I'm starting to see it now. It's 150 yards. It's 100 yards. And I start reeling in. And I'm like, Dad, that whale is coming right for the boat. So we're all like reeling in as fast as we could. And now it's a 50 yards, 100 feet, 50 feet. And it goes down underneath the water. And there's like this moment of silence. Wow. It was honestly a little eerie because I did not know what was going to happen. And the whale came completely right up to the boat. I was literally able to look down its blowhole as it went down under the boat, came up the other side, and its big left eye was about 5 feet away from me. My heart is all, and I'm in awe. And then she just slowly sunk down, made a small little sound, and disappeared, and I never saw her again.
Wow.
Now, for a 9-year-old boy, that was a moment that I'll remember forever. Once I got older and a little wiser, I started to see that that whale was curious. It had a desire to make a connection. As it was circulating us, it could hear our voices. As it was coming closer, it could see its presence affecting our breathing rate. It could hear our heart rate speeding up. And what I realized is that every living creature on this planet has a desire for connection. When you know how to make a connection with intention, you are making an impact. And you've got to design your business and your marketing to make an impact. It's not enough to just have words. To be able to tell stories, create mic drop moments is critical for you to be able to impact and shift lives. Marianne Williamson, she has a great line that says, if you know how to touch a heart, you know how to change the world. And it really comes to understanding that your communication can be designed to connect with people and tap into that need and curiosity to connect.
Lovely, lovely. I think I am going to use this word, with your permission, of course, impact economy, to connect with people a lot more. And I would also, use it for making human connections and looking at impact economy as the way I do my business even more. I love making connections. That is something that comes to me naturally. But this is something I think I would get more conscious about it. Thank you for letting us know. I want to ask you this question. How do you think women are more suited or in a better position to utilize this impact economy for their benefits?
Great. Great follow-up question, because the impact economy really is everything that you're seeing going on right now. It's the inclusion of people of color, different sexual orientation, women. It's about cleaning up the planet. It's a different economic model. It's a different political model. It's all the things that we are looking for. They're all the same problem. All right. The same problem has been the problem of the penetrating masculine that says we need structure, and it's built roads, and it's built communication systems and electrical systems, and it's really served us in the world. Now, what we're seeing is that the world needs intentionality in those systems. Those systems are broken. While they allow us to talk and reach each other across the world, what is 5G doing to our children? What is 5G doing to my body? And if we don't start addressing what are the repercussions of these choices and solving that, there are trillions of dollars to be made in cleaning up the planet. Trillions of dollars to be made in making sure that every decision we make in building structures and recreating structures is something that holistically solves these problems of marginalizing and thinking profit first. So the impact economy all falls underneath that. It's all those things. It's that same problem that there's we need to look at things from a different perspective, which is the perspective of the feminine. Bringing love, connection, and understanding that when I am going to build something, I am going to build it with the intention of impacting lives in a positive and healthy way. And that's what I want women to really see, is that they should be seeking leadership positions in an area where they can make sure that the impact on whatever they're doing, whether this is in a local government or their PTA, Parent Teacher Association, for their children's school, big or small, seek roles that allow you to be in a position to make decisions and determine policy. And then that way you are incorporating impact into everything that you do. You're a part of the impact economy and recreating the world, heaven on earth, and ushering in a new earth right here, right now, with the structures that we've created by just polishing the diamond and making it more loving and more connected.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a brilliant take for all the women out there, all the leaders out there who are wondering, who am I? What can I do? What can I do with what I have? You are naturally talented, my friends and my colleagues. You can do so much more with impact economy. So go out there, make your impact. Now, I'm going to ask you, we are almost towards the fag end of the interview. However, I'm not letting you go without asking a few questions that are running in my mind, right? So I'm going to ask you this question. What are your tips for women leaders out there who are listening or watching the episode right now, who are going through a challenge, a hindered career growth, or say some other kind of stereotypes or glass ceilings that is stopping them from achieving their true potential? What would be your tips to such women out there?
Very good. So this is a really important question. And my answer is probably the most important answer of all the things we talked about today. Because as you start to step into the path of business ownership, leadership, you're immediately hit with, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And in some ways, you have to change, you have to grow, you have to expand. And in the process of expansion, we need to acquire skills, we need to acquire mindsets, we need to acquire habits, all of which would come down to this whole concept of achievement. And with the concept of achievement is built in a natural angst and anxiety and self-criticism. And so we have to have the art of fulfillment as a part of that. And I think this really comes down to your own spiritual path and really understanding that the more you can be present and that all things are lessons that God would have you learn. Letting go, having an intention, and having a practice that allows you to get clear of what am I supposed to do in the world, and then releasing the future to something bigger than you, and really focusing on being right here, right now. And what that means is that there's going to be a lot of uncertainty in your life. You may not know what the next 3 months are going to be bringing. And this is completely different than what we're used to in business, which says you have to have your monthly projections, your quarterly goals, all those things. You still have those, but then you have to learn how to release those and be in the present and be in touch with something deeper. Intuition, God, Mother Earth, nature, spirit, whatever it is your higher calling, you have to be in co-creation with that and trust that what is meant to happen will happen, and that it always will be a benefit to you and the people around you. And that anything that is other than that is nothing more than a lesson in the present moment of how to be different, how to step into who you're called to be. Let go of the old fears, let go of the irrationality, and truly be this leadership presence that allows things to unfold. And then you look back through time and you see how everything has been orchestrated by something way bigger than you. So I think that's the biggest thing I would say, is that if you're going through angst, you have a different story that you have to start telling yourself. And that story really comes down to letting go of the attachment to your goal. You still have goals. You still are working to achieve them, but you must let them go and get really good at being in the present. You must have stillness in your life. And the world is spinning so fast. Technology makes us crazy. And we have to have a way of dropping into stillness, connecting with nature, connecting with the divine, so we can really hear what we're supposed to do right now and make that your life, the fulfillment, the joy, the task of the current moment. And then you have nothing but a series of moments where you're working and co-creating with God. And that's when we're going to have a new earth.
Wow. I mean, I can already picturize the beautiful world that all the women leaders out there can create for themselves, for society, and create such large impact from all the things that you just told them. I think it is very, very important to center yourself, and bring yourself to the stillness, know why you're doing what you're doing, and then I think everything else falls in place. I can't agree more with you on this. Now, we've been talking about women leaders and their challenges and how they can go for it, the kind of work that you do with them, etc., 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 right? Now, there's another part to the whole system, right? That are the organizations, the organization for which these women are probably working. Some of these leaders are working, or these organizations that these women are running in their own organizations. So what do you think are the measures that these organizations can take to reduce the impact of glass ceilings or stereotypes that is stopping the growth of these women? What would you suggest that the organizations consciously do in their capacity, at a larger capacity, top down capacity, to make sure that women leaders have it easier when it comes to their growth and success, without having to get blocked in every space, in every turn of their journey?
Correct. Well, the biggest challenge around that is that there is an energy, there is a force wanting to keep things the same, meaning the top-down masculine model, because it generates so much money and it's what is making the world turn. But underneath, there is a ground swelling of change already in place. I think the biggest thing is for women to consciously choose the people that they surround themselves with. If you are in a situation to where the board of directors or the leaders of the company are creating a glass ceiling, you have a choice to make. Are you going to continue to be a part of that organization? And that can be really hard, because you could be really being paid really, really well. You could enjoy the work that you're doing. And so you have to determine, am I willing to perpetuate a culture that is not uplifting and including everyone? And have the courage to make bold decisions and maybe take sharp right turns, sharp left turns, to do the things that you're called to do. That is probably the most courageous thing, because it can be scared. You could be making money that really is setting your life up for the long haul. And that is a good choice if that's what you want. But ultimately, you cannot allow yourself to be in a culture where you do not have the power to choose your life, your destiny. And if you choose to be in that world, then make sure that you are also choosing a way of learning how to manage that so that you're not being suffocated, that you're creating the life that you want. I think that's the most important thing. Create your life with intention, and don't allow external circumstances to deter you from that conviction. And because there is this energy that's going to try to keep things the same, but there's this groundswelling. Leanin.org, the work of Sheryl Sandberg with Facebook, wonderful work. There's so many support systems for women out there right now. The work that Brene Brown is doing with leadership is wonderful work that's out there. Alison Armstrong, amazing work. Mama Gina, amazing work that is creating a different energy and a community of women to lead differently. So surround yourself with a different kind of energy, men and women, that are supporting your elevation, both consciously, financially, and in the workforce.
Lovely. Surround yourself with the right company, and I mean, I say that as well. I mean, I have actually over the period of time built a wolf pack, is what I call it, around me, who are always there, in thick and thin, whenever you need to get a suggestion from them, whenever you need to get a beating from them, a feedback, a critical feedback. Very few people these days give you critical feedback, isn't it? So I have a bunch of people who are there just to bash me up, just to find flaws in my work, and they do it with good intentions. So making sure that all my work every single time gets better and better and better, right? So I think it is important to create that ecosystem around you that nurture your growth, that nurture your upliftment, that nurtures your success, etc. I was talking to someone the other day. I just want to share it here with all the listeners, and I'm sure the similar kind of thought process or similar kind of dilemma a lot of women go through. It just pops out that this could be a good example here. So she was saying that her mentor was mentioning her to cut all ties with her mother. And I asked her, and why so? She said, because my mother feels I am good for nothing, and I can't do anything other than being a liability to my family, to my husband, to my to my children, etc. I have no, I mean, I don't have any powers to do anything. And I felt so bad for her, that it is so difficult, especially in India, where family becomes your top value. How do you cut ties with such people? So to me, I told her that something similar had happened to me, and I had to cut ties with somebody close, which of course physically was not possible. But can you stop getting impacted by those bad words, by those disempowering words? Let's not call them bad words, but disempowering words that are stopping you from reaching your full potential. Can you emotionally cut ties with the thoughts, and probably not with the person? So I thought this would be a good space to share this thought process. I was really touched by the way she talked about it, and she almost had tears in her eyes, and it was really, really um, touching, to say the least, when she spoke about this. So there are many women out there who are going through such challenges. I think what Mark said here was that surround yourself with positivity, surround yourself with people who are growth minded, surround yourself with people who would love to see you grow and succeed. And that's the tip here. Now, I have just one last question here, Mark, for you, and that would be your final message. Your final message for the leaders who are going through a leadership or some kind of a setback that is just not letting them, break out of it. Is there anything that they can do quickly? Maybe one, two, three things that they can do quickly to come out of that rut, come out of that mundane, continuous disempowering habits, disempowering thoughts, disempowering things that's going on in their life. Is there anything that they can quickly do, certain actions, certain tips, certain tricks that they can employ to bring them out of that deep shit, let me call it that?
That's a great question. And you kind of alluded to it a little bit before. Ultimately, ladies, everything that we're talking about here, right now in this conversation comes down to the words you think and the words you use. Everything. Even our connection to spirit is through words. And then you learn how to go beyond words. It's how we access our thinking. And so when you've been around toxic people, and they may be people you love dearly, okay, family, friends, spouse, if they have toxic words, you can leave that relationship, but very often the words that they use around you, you carry with you. And so there has to be a process in which you choose different words. And this is the process where you have a more compelling message. Your message you tell yourself and the message you tell people will determine the amount of impact and influence you have on the world. Influence equals leadership, and leadership equals your words. So the first thing that you can do is play to your strengths. Don't try to fix what's broken. Play to your strengths. And so I'd encourage everyone to go over to speakerblueprints.com and take our speaker assessment. It's wonderful because it allows you to see what is your strength as a speaker. Are you a motivator? Are you an orator? Are you a lecturer? What kind of presenter are you? Because as a leader, speakers are leaders. And so your ability to present to one, to a few, to many, and the words you choose shape you. Speaking heals. So as you are speaking to people and leading people, you are also shaping your future in that very moment through your word choice. And so when you head over to speakerblueprints.com and take that quiz, it allows you to become a part of the Big Impact HQ world, and it gives you feedback on your strengths and the words that you should be using more of. And then you start to be able to learn how we can support you in up-leveling your message and up-leveling your impact.
Lovely, awesome. I think what is my takeaway from this last question is that say the right words to yourself. I think that's the first thing. You need to be self-loving. You need to be less harsh on yourself. What you're telling yourself, that's the first thing. And second thing, speak up, speak your message. And to find out what kind of speaker you are, go to speakerblueprints.com and take the test to find out what is your strength really, and play on your strength. I think that is the brilliant end of a lovely conversation. And Mark, you brought out such unique ideas, such unique concepts like conscious leadership, like for example capitalism, which can be conscious. I was never thinking capitalism could be conscious, and impact economy. All these are really brilliant concepts and really brilliant ideas. I think all the leaders, all the listeners who are listening to this right now would definitely go through, do more research, and find out what it is all about. And I am sure they would take a leaf or two out of your experience, out of your suggestions, and implement them in your life. With that, we are coming to the close to this particular conversation, this particular episode of Setback Leadership. I have to immensely thank Mark for extending his presence for this talk show, because his timings are very different from where I am sitting and working. So thank you, Mark, for extending yourself a little bit more, and being there for us, being there for all our listeners and people who are watching it. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. You're such a great host. I know you're up to big things in the world, and you're putting your message out there that takes courage. You're a wonderful example of what women leadership can be. So I'm excited to have a collaboration with you, and let's work to change the world together.
Absolutely, Mark. Looking forward for more. I am going to dig up more, and I'm going to probably come back to you with more collaborative opportunities. Let's do that, and stay safe, stay healthy, and stay well. And love and hugs to Sharon. Wow, wow, wow. A man talking about women leadership, their impact, their influence, their earning, and creating big impact. Wow. I have so many takeaways from today's discussion that probably it will become another podcast episode. I'm kidding, of course. So, what are my takeaways from today's podcast? Of course, finding the meaning for conscious capitalism and how that can help women leaders make bigger impact. Another takeaway was how impact economy can help women bring out the best in themselves, reach their true potential, and become the better leader that they can be. 3. What Mark said at the end about creating the right atmosphere for your growth and making sure you are telling the right things to yourself. You are treating yourself with a lot more compassion. I think that are my takeaways from this particular session, this particular interview. What has been your takeaways? How have you implemented whatever Mark said? Do you think you are creating an impact economy with your work? If so, let us know in the comments. Of course, don't forget to subscribe our channel to be the first one to know about the new episodes, see the premiere, and be part of the exciting journey that we are bringing out for only you. Take care. I will see you in the next episode.